Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of entitled parents. My entitled parents kidnapped me and held me hostage at their home after a major car accident. I am 32-year-old woman was in a major car accident in January of 2021. Ironically, I had been taking my boyfriend, 36-year-old, to the ER because he had bleeding ulcers and ended up getting admitted to the hospital that night. This was still when they were enforcing COVID rules, so I was booted out of the hospital at about 0300 in the morning. When I left it was snowing, and not thinking hopped on the freeway, which wasn't a good idea. I had been driving a lifted Jeep Cherokee with mud terrain tires, not the best ever for snowstorm driving. Getting off the freeway to go home, my brakes locked up and I went into a light pole headfirst at about 60 miles per hour. My Jeep did not have airbags. That was dumb. Needless to say, my car was totaled and I had to be extracted from the car by the fire department. This whole time I had been blacking out and losing consciousness, and I still get random flashes of I don't have all my memories from that night or several months after the accident. I got sent to the nearest trauma center, which was the same hospital I had just left. The nurses felt pretty bad about kicking me out. I ended up with a moderate to severe TBI, broken under my left eye, hairline fractures on my skull on the left side, bruising behind my ears, and black eyes. I had also cut open the inside of my mouth, had multiple lacerations all over my face. I broke my driver's side window with my face. Broke and bruised some ribs, had hairline fractures in my spine, broke my right wrist, my right knee and my left foot, which required 2 surgeries, and I still need approximately 3 more. Needless to say, I was not doing great. I had recently gotten divorced the previous year and think that my entitled parents decided that my accident was my boyfriend's fault. I had to stay in the hospital for a total of 12 days, in which case the mild family drama exploded into a severe family inferno. As I got closer to being released, all I had wanted to do was go home to my boyfriend and our kids. He had 2 previously, and I had 1. My entitled mother decided that wasn't what she wanted. On the phone we sound almost identical. The whole time that I was in the hospital she had been getting on the phone and impersonating me to my apartment complex management. Even going as far as calling the cops to get my boyfriend and his 2 kids removed from my apartment. They were not on my lease yet. My entitled mother also forged my signature on hospital paperwork and made up a story about how my boyfriend was abusive to me, and got him banned from seeing me at the hospital. Again, forging my signature and writing a letter stating I didn't want to see him. This whole time I was still suffering from the effects of my TBI and was delirious from the combination of pain medications and brain fog from my head injury. Entitled mother even had the locks changed on my apartment without my consent. When I finally was released from the hospital, I was in a wheelchair because of my broken foot that had just had 2 plates and 10 screws surgically put in to hold it together, and an ankle to hip brace on my other leg from my knee being broken. I requested to go home to my apartment, but again entitled mother played it that I couldn't go home because I had a 2nd-story apartment and couldn't take care of myself. So I got sent to stay at my parents' house, against my will, an hour away from home because entitled mother wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to let my boyfriend come back to my apartment. I spent almost a whole miserable month there. Entitled mother refused to take me home even after I got crutches and was able to bear some weight. Initially, they refused to even go get my crutches from town because they didn't want me to have more mobility. Eventually, it got to the point where I had a friend come and pick me up from entitled mother's house so I could go home because they kept refusing to let me go. As I gained clarity in my mind and was taken off the intense pain medication, I was able to start rectifying the situations that entitled mother made a huge mess of in my life, but I'm still trying to recover in some areas. I didn't find out until much later when medical bills started coming in that entitled mother had called my boyfriend's health insurance company, impersonating me, and had me removed from his insurance. It took months of calling and badgering and footwork on my part to get the situation figured out and have the insurance pay for what they were supposed to pay for. It almost caused me to go bankrupt. At the same time, entitled mother signed me up for minimal health insurance coverage through the state that I had no idea I was enrolled in until I got a bill later stating that I back owed fees. Needless to say, I eventually completely cut both entitled mother and my father out of life after finding out how much they tried to control and how much they messed my life up. I ended up getting protection orders after they tried to break into my house, stalked me, and sent family and friends over to harass me. This whole incident was the straw that broke the camel's back. There was quite a bit of retaliation on their side that threw my life into a total tailspin ever since, but I'm sticking to my guns and not backing down. Next story. My absent father just showed up unannounced. So last night, I am 30 years old man and my wife 29-year-old and I were winding down fairly early, as she had surgery scheduled early in the morning. At a little before 8 p.m., there's a ring on my doorbell. This, of course, sends my two dogs into a barking fit. I should have checked the doorbell cam. Or at least the peephole. But wrangling the pups came first. Anyways, I cracked the door a bit, and even in the dim light from the crack in the door, I immediately knew it was him. Before I can speak, he announces that he's my dad and wants to come in. Sounding very pleased with himself for surprising me. Mind you, he was absent until I turned 23, when he sent me a paternity test as a birthday gift. When it came back that he was, in fact, my father, his last words to me were, "That answers a lot of questions." He was abusive towards my mom, which is why she left while he was at work when she found out she was pregnant with me. So, being completely bushwhacked by this, I gather enough of myself to ask how the hell he found me. Apparently, he found my wife's name and did a tax record search of the area to find our address. Her name is on the loan, as my credit was garbage when we purchased. This just yeeted me into orbit with rage, and I told him this was not a good time and to leave and shut the door. I've been processing, and I feel that I should meet with him and tell him in person that what he did was so far out of line. And that if he really wanted to speak with me for any reason, there are proper channels. Something else to note is that he's apparently reached out to her via Facebook Messenger and gave her his number after a very creepy introduction. Next story. Stepmother keeps a huge pic of my ex in the living room. Backstory: I was previously married to a man. I came out as lesbian 2 years in. Things ended as mutually as possible, but we don't talk. Divorced for 5 years now. My stepmother apparently never got over it. She keeps a huge, framed picture of us dressed up in the living room. I've asked her to take it down many times. In a heated argument, it got knocked off the wall and broke. She charged me for the repair even though she hit it while trying to point at it. Fast forward, well, I had a wonderful girlfriend about 2 years ago. She was intelligent, funny, and quirky cute. She begged me for months to meet my parents. We'd been dating for a little over a year and met all my friends and chosen family but wanted to meet the parents. I explained my past with my stepmother and her tendencies. She understood and stopped asking. Well, long story short, for another post, my stepmother showed up one day, I live 150 miles away, and invited us in person for dinner. I felt obligated to go. When my girlfriend and I arrived, night went as normal as possible, but then girlfriend brought up the picture of my ex and it's a good picture. Where was that at? Enter stepmother. She rambled on about how happy we were together and how me, was so much more fit back then. And it's a shame things didn't work out for him. It was unbearable. I interpreted and said, "It's late, we have to go." Girlfriend and I gathered our things. Oh, she always gets so upset about it. It's a part of your past, you need to accept that. Step said as we were packing up. And I'm a different person now. You live in the past. You have to accept that. Not my best line, but I was upset. Girlfriend and I broke up for her to study in another state. And every girl I date now, I'm scared to bring over. It's such an awkward, unbearable, and embarrassing thing to do to your stepdaughter. My dad won't help either. He never gets involved with the topic of removing it. I hate that I can't convince her. And I hate that she rubs it in my face. I wish that picture would just disappear. Next story. Entitled Dad breaks my leg because I continuously blocked his son from scoring. We had a volleyball tournament. For reference, I'm a middle blocker, 6 feet 5 inches, and a vert of 70 centimeters. Game starts and everything goes good. Eventually Entitled Dad's kid gets subbed in because his team wasn't scoring, and apparently he's a star player. I blocked every hit he went for and his dad started to get visibly angry, starting to shout at me and stuff as well. After the game ended, we won and I blocked nearly every shot from this guy. The entitled dad came to me asking what my problem is and stuff. I said, "Sorry man, it's my job." He started laughing and stomped on my shin. It's broken and I'm currently in hospital writing this story, and the dad should hopefully end up in jail. Also planning on suing for permanent damages. Doctor says I may not be able to play volleyball ever again, and I got a college offer. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.